Hey, what's up? It's HBCU Game Day. It's time for another podcast. I'm Tolly Carr, joined by my friends once again. There is Simone Stanley, Wilton Jackson, not in studio this week because as a beat reporter for the Atlanta Dream, the Dream did not do their part. They did not keep on winning, so Wilton cannot stay with us in Atlanta. He's back in the SIP. We tried, Wilton. We tried.
We did. Hard.
Dreams turn into nightmares.
They do. Hey, Miles, let's show Simone. Let's show Simone.
You always try to put me on blast.
On the wide shot. No, let's show her on the wide shot. Look how comfortable Simone is this week. I mean, she is, crisscross applesauce.
She's taking more of the couch up this time.
Right, I'm trying to use up all the couch.
I mean, that's how I want you guys to feel while watching the show. I just want you to be comfortable, relaxed, sit back. We're going to talk a little football. And let's start here with bands before we get to the football. Ooh. Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South, well, they have withdrawn from the Band of the Year competition. We talked about last weekend the results from the first drop of the poll. The Sonic Boom came in at number 8. Now, I'm not saying this decision is related, but not long after that, we got this statement, which you can read about at HBCUGameday.com. This comes from Dr. Roderick Little, band director. We fully respect the decision of other programs to participate, as well as the enthusiasm of fans who followed the competition. At Jackson State, our students work tirelessly and are evaluated by a different set of standards, those that focus on personal growth, musical excellence, and cultural impact. We take immense pride in the integrity, resilience, and life achievements of our members, both on and off the field. All right, let's go to Wilton Jackson. He was caping for the Sonic Boom last week. Wilton, when you heard the news that they said, look, y'all have fun, we ain't in it. But they, of course, said it more eloquently, as I just read. What were your thoughts?
Tolly, I had a mixed mindset. Now, granted, like I said on this very show last week, I'm very much biased to SWAC bands and a little bit of bias, obviously, to the Sonic Boom of the South. But I definitely didn't think that they were going to pull out of this competition. That's just not what I had on my bingo card. But on one side of it, seeing that, when you look at different platforms like this, like the ESPN Band of the competition, you get a chance to not only showcase your band to millions and millions across the world, but at the same time, this is a bigger platform for your university. And what we do know for sure when you start talking about HBCUs is that you always want to continue to build that reach for, helping with, you talk about getting more people to attend your institutions, seeing what you have to offer as a university. And obviously at Jackson State, it's no secret that the Sonic Boom of the South is a major, major piece of the fabric of what Jackson State is known for. So on one side, it's like, well, you're potentially missing out on the chance to win, and also these students a chance to compete in this competition because it is in fact a legitimate competition. However, on the other side of this equation, I can also see that there is a certain level of bias, and everybody knows, or at least everybody can see, there is a certain level of bias within this competition. Not even just more so just to Jackson State, but I think you could easily see it just beyond just some of the SWAC schools. So again, as a person who was once in the band in high school, will never pretend that I was in the band in college, but having understood some of the dynamics when it comes to bands competing, I enjoy just watching good musicianship and everything that comes within the diaspora of understanding what HBCU band life looks like. I always enjoy everybody's HBCU band, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that on one side, I was a little disappointed, but on the other side, I do understand it.
Simone, it gave salty to me. It was I just felt a little salty.
I think timing is everything, and the fact that the statement came out immediately after they were ranked number 8.
Ocho.
On a list of what, 10?
Something
15?
Like
they were ranked number
15.
So to come out after being ranked number 8 and say you're not participating, it gives salty, okay? That might not be what it is, but that's what it gives, okay? Because it's like, if you were ranked number 1, 2, 3, would this statement be coming out?
Right. Yeah, those were my thoughts. And look, I love the Sonic Boom of the South. They're one of my favorites. So This is not a thing where we're trying to come for the boom. It's just like I want them to participate. I don't want them to not participate because
for sure.
Even though they weren't in the top 5, if you go back and look at last week's show at Wilton, I think the first thing that came out of my mouth after that was, where's the boom? Like, you got to see like where they are. If they're not on top, where are they? And they're one of a handful of bands that garner that respect. So I just didn't like it. I feel like the fans miss out. I think it's something fun, and it was like, don't take the high road now. Now.
The fans want the best bands in the competition. So that sucks for the ESPN Band of the Year because it's like if such a big brand like Jackson State pulls out, who's to say who else might pull out for reasons? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's just kind of like, we don't want to see a snowball effect where we see more teams like, oh, Jackson State pulled out. Shoot, let me pull out too. So it can get dicey.
Yeah. It's kind of like bowl games, right? Remember when star players stopped playing in the bowl games? It became business decisions, and then it was kind of, I think Christian McCaffrey might have been amongst that first wave of people, and then it just became like the norm. Like, we're not doing that. So not the same exact thing, but once these precedents, and there's no ruling body for bands. Like, you can really do what you want, show up where you want to show up, not show up where you don't feel like you can show up. So there's that. Let's take a look at what ESPN said. They gave this this was actually John Grant. He's the executive director of the Celebration Bowl. Gave this exclusive to HBCU Gameday. We acknowledge the position taken by Jackson State University, Sonic Boom of the South. Each band will be adjudicated, pulling out the big words here, through the season as we have for the last 2 seasons. Our process provides that any band in the season-ending top 5 may decline to participate in the final competition if selected. So it sounds like they're still going to rank. It sounds like they said, okay, you don't have to participate, but you're going to stay in these rankings, which they have the right to do. So
I'm weak. I know one thing for sure.
It's like, regardless if you're going to show up or not,
you're going to be in these rankings.
Still going to get ranked.
I'm ready to see the next week rankings drop. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Pretty interesting to see. Do they go up? Do they go down? We'll see. All right, so let us know what you think. In the comments, wherever you're watching this, I'm sure you're already typing away.
Oh, I already read the comments on the Facebook post.
Oh, what were the street correspondent? What were the streets saying?
You know exactly what the streets were saying. That needs to be the name of the segment. You know what the streets were saying.
What were the Jackson State fans saying?
They were drowned out by just the general other fans. Like, I couldn't even really pinpoint the Jackson fans because most of the comments were just basically saying what we just said. Right. You come out number 8, then you don't want to participate.
Oh, that rhymes. Come out 8, don't want to participate. All right, let's talk about more rankings. Getting to football, North Carolina Central University, they have some pretty highly ranked offensive backfield players. Their quarterback, Walker Harris, 2nd in FCS in passing yards. Chris Mosley, 3rd in total rushing yards. Together, that's one of the most dynamic backfields in all of FCS football. Oh, did we give them an A last week? I don't think we did. I think there were some people who said, y'all are going to pay attention.
I thought we did.
Did you? When you
I could have sworn we said Central and Delaware State.
I have to go back and watch the tape.
Or maybe it was Alabama State.
You don't even remember who you gave.
It was Delaware State and Alabama State.
I thought you said Delaware State, South Carolina State.
You don't even know.
I made the graphic. I'm pretty sure. You said we'll find out. Anyway, there was some scuttlebutt that we were not given the props to North Carolina Central. I don't think we can do that.
Scuttlebutt.
Yes, that's the thing that old people say, Simone. Scuttlebutt.
Old people or you, Tolly? I know plenty of old people, and I've never heard scuttlebutt until today. What is that?
All right, it might be a zip code thing. All right, let's talk about Walker Harris. He's getting it done. He's getting it done.
Go ahead, Wilton.
Look, they let you back in Georgia Tech, so I don't know why you're afraid all of a sudden.
No, I'm telling you, go Wilton, start talking, because I'm just stuck on scuttlebutt. Go ahead, Wilton.
No, so when I think about Walker Harris and what he's been able to do this season, I think this is what I wanted him to do. I think this is what everybody expected him to do for North Carolina Central in their offense. And I think more so than anything, this is what we expect to see from North Carolina Central as they continue to unfold throughout the season. And it also helps, too, that when you have a dynamic running back like Christian Mosley, I mean, Tyler Simone, we both saw him in week 0 in the first game of the season. And, I mean, he just absolutely had a phenomenal breakout game against Southern. And so when you have a dynamic running game to go with the quarterback who hadn't necessarily been able to kind of essentially break out of the shadows to really, really, carve his own role like he needs to. Of course, we know he can manage a game, but I think in some cases there are going to be times where he may not necessarily just be able to just manage the game. He's going to have to make those plays, those critical passes down the field, in addition to what obviously Christian Mosley is going to do. So I definitely think that Walker Harris is on the right trajectory going forward for North Carolina Central. And I think, again, as we get to October, we know that that's when the real MEAC season really, really starts. Of course, every game matters, but the games that truly, truly matter are about to be ahead of them in this upcoming month.
Simone, every football team wants to be able to run the ball so they can set up the pass. That's just basic football. North Carolina Central is really in a position to put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses because you've got to know where Mosley is. And look, when you got your quarterback Walker Harris is back there second in FCS passing. Mm-hmm. You got to know where he could potentially go. So it's really set up perfectly to keep a defense off balance, and kept A&T off balance last week. 60 piece, and they hung on the Aggies.
But yeah, I mean, we saw it week 1 or week 0 up close at the MEAC SWAC Challenge. What Walker Harris and Chris Mosley can do, and the biggest thing about Walker Harris is not making mistakes. Like, he takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't put the ball into trouble. He doesn't try to be a star. You know what I mean? He takes what the defense gives him, and that's gonna be huge going down the line.
And can run a little bit. Like,
yeah,
got some mobility.
Yeah, but just he's just very smart with the football. That's a big thing that's gonna go far for them because you have offenses with weapons, you have good run games, but a lot of times your quarterback can put you in trouble. But we see with Walker Harris, he's making all the right decisions.
All right, so things looking up for North Carolina Central after some tough scheduling in the beginning of the year. You got to get paid. You got to play those teams that you are a severe underdog against. But as Wilton said, once they get to the MEAC portion of the schedule, those games will be just a memory. Well, the team they beat up, North Carolina Central beat up over this past weekend was North Carolina A&T. A big look at Simone. Look at Simone.
That game was nothing but a bunch of scuttlebutt.
From Greensboro.
Don't hide now.
From Greensboro, North Carolina. Simone likes to rep the Aggies whenever she can, although she went to NC State. So head coach Sean Gibbs had some words about his own team after the big loss. He said, "Saturday was, without a doubt, the most disappointing day of my career in football as a player or a coach. We were outcoached, we were outplayed, and we were outcultured." He goes on to say, "We got too many guys that hate on this team." And he wasn't talking about external guys. He was talking about internal guys. Too many guys that hate on this team. Anytime my teammate has an opportunity to shine, I've got to support them. Those are the things we've got to work on. One of the big things that happened pregame, you had a North Carolina A&T player squirt some water from the water bottle on head coach Trey Oliver. That got things a little spicy in the pregame. They agreed, both teams, not to shake hands afterward. The player, whoever squirted the water bottle, no longer a part of the team, according to Coach Gibbs. Simone, we'll start with you. Trouble all around. Coming off that win, we were talking about the Aggies. Hey, they finally got a win. They followed that up with the team that they like the least, North Carolina Central, and they took one big, a BTA.
It's demoralizing, Tali. I mean, there's no other way to put it, especially last year, an embarrassing loss. The last time they played Central, embarrassing loss. This time, another embarrassing loss, coming off such a high after that win against Hampton, and then it's just like, boop, the pop of the balloon, the gas escaping. And, you know, there was so much excitement around Coach Gibbs coming to this program. He's a guy that the culture wanted, the fans wanted, former players, alumni, distinguished people that have been through the Aggie program wanted. So just to see the same result when you play against a team like North Carolina Central is deflating. Also, it's a loss like that. There's just so many things that's wrong besides just, you know, the play on the field. Like, there's no way you get 60-pieced and just the trouble is just, oh, where we lined up or made a mistake here. No. It's bigger issues. Yeah. I don't even know, should I still go to G-Ho? Like, I don't know what to do at this point because I booked my travel based off that Hampton win. Now I'm like, are we still outside? Like, what's going on?
Go ahead,
moved too soon. No, I was about to say, Simone, you might have moved too soon on that one with this North Carolina A&T team. But I'll say this. I think more than anything, beyond just the game, which I'll get to in a second, you cannot have players squirting water bottles or squirting water on an opposing coach. That's just like the ultimate disrespect. And not only did that happen, but just think about who he did that to. Trey Oliver is a coach that takes any ounce of anything that might happen pregame, leading up to the game, post-game, and he will use that, and that will fuel North Carolina Central's team. And to your point, Tyler, it was a straight BTA. I'm like, I don't even know what was going through Buddy's mind to even think about doing it. That's number one. But then, two, I think about the comments that Coach Gibbs made, and I just said to myself, on one side, it's like, okay, you make those comments, but at the same time, do you necessarily want to put them exactly out there like that? Not necessarily about the players' behavior, but just more so about your team overall, the morale. Like, do you say them like that, or do you maybe tailor the message a little bit differently? That was my takeaway from both situations.
Yeah, that doesn't get me excited to buy Aggie tickets when I hear the coach say, you know, pretty much this was a rock bottom experience. Like,
and for him to say not only in his coaching career, but his playing career, this man has played on so many levels of football. So you telling me going back to middle school, elementary, Pop Warner, 6U football, this was the worst experience. That is bad.
Yes.
Terrible. Yeah.
But there's still plenty of season to play. Opportunity for the Aggies to get it together and come on back out. But hey, that band is rocking. I'm looking on the bright side, Simone.
Simone, are you still going to G-Ho?
That's what I'm about to ask Facebook. As soon as we get off, are we still outside? That's what I need to know.
Streets.
I need to ask
Simone
the
still go to G-Ho?
That's what I need to know from the
You'll always be welcome at home. You'll always be welcome. Will you have a good time? Tailgate will be popping. Halftime popping. We just need the team to get it together. All right, let's talk about Alabama State. Andrew Body, we've always had a reason to talk about him week in and week out. Just running through the stats this week on NCAA website. Looked at the top passer efficiency ratings for quarterbacks, and Andrew Body was number one, and I mean number one with a bullet. He has a 223 quarterback passer efficiency rating. Now, this is what they do. They blend completions, yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and attempts. They got a whole formula. Guys usually finish, good quarterbacks, 170 to 190 by the end of the year. Anything over 200 is rare. We're only 3 games in. We're not going to, act like, oh, my God, he's just going to do this forever. But he might.
But what if he did?
So he's in a pretty esteemed ranking right now at 223, and he's running away with it early. Wilton, these numbers showcase no interceptions on the year. A guy who's getting it done as a pocket passer.
Absolutely. If I'm having to face Andrew Body next week, this week, tomorrow, tonight, I might be a little afraid. Like, this guy is dialed in and locked into the game plan that Alabama State has him on. He just looks a lot more comfortable and relaxed in the pocket. And of course, we know because he's a dual threat quarterback, if he needs to leave the pocket, escape the pocket and make plays, he can do that. But I'm just really, really excited to see his level of maturity in the way that he's playing this year. Again, I've said this several times. We saw glimpses of what he could be at Texas Southern. We saw glimpses of last year of what he could be before he got hurt. But I think this year now, as long as he continues to stay upright, stay healthy, we're seeing a full version of the Andrew Body experience. Now, I will say this, for those who don't know, you might want to circle October 11th when they come to Jackson for Jackson State's homecoming. That will be a game to watch for sure.
There is history between Alabama State and Jackson State when it comes to homecomings, particularly Jackson State's homecoming. Alabama State has played spoiler on a couple of occasions, Wilton.
Yes. No, they have. And if I'm Andrew Body, I am truly looking to spoil Jackson State's homecoming. However, with an O, we'll say that with an O because Tyler likes to say that. I think that this Jackson State team is a little bit more hungrier, or will be a little bit more hungrier for their homecoming this year. And obviously in pursuit to potentially repeat as SWAC champions and get to the Celebration Bowl. So I'm really, really excited. Of course, games leading up to that point still have to be played, but I really, really do think that could be a marquee game that really takes a huge implication on who we see win and potentially begin to truly lead the SWAC East.
All right, let's stick to the big topics. We're going to jump back over to the MEAC. Simone, Delaware State is rolling. They picked up another win last weekend. Safe to say, it's not a fluke. This team is for real. They beat U of Albany. They beat Bowie State. They beat St. Francis 39-10. They got some more teams to go before their MEAC schedule begins. But Deshaun Jackson understood the assignment as a first-year head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the haters were so worried about what he had on at media day, what the players had on.
Maybe your coach should have wore a polo.
Right. Maybe your coach should have wore a polo and some khakis and a little chain. You know what I'm saying? It's football, baby. It ain't about what you have on that media day. You know what I'm saying? It's about what you do on Saturday. So shout out to Deshaun Jackson. He was obviously just showed so much passion around being able to coach Delaware State. You could just see in everything he said. We get a lot of behind-the-scenes access with Kobe from HBCU Gameday covering their training camp and practices, and you could just tell the passion that he has for this team. So it's just great to see that coming into fruition. And he's a guy who's humble and hungry. You know what I'm saying? He's leaning on greats. He's talking to Andy Reid. He's talking to Nick Sirianni and former coaches to get tips. So it's just great to see it all coming into full circle. Also, shout out to Deshaun Jackson. He was at the Eagles game last week.
I was about to say, he's out in the streets, too.
Yeah.
He's still finding time to flap those wings.
So he was in the locker room after the game, talking with A.J. Brown, all that. But, yeah, Delaware State, it's looking kind of similar to North Carolina Central. You got a quarterback in Caden Bennett who is taking care of the ball, making the right decisions. You got a great running game with Marquise Gillis, James Jones, two guys that can give you over 100 yards per game. So they have a great formula going over there, and just excited for this MEAC play, like Wilton said.
I mean, guys, if it comes down to, Halloween, and we've got South Carolina State, North Carolina Central, Delaware State, and every time those three play each other, it feels like one of the team is going to be eliminated, like it's a do-or-die situation. Like, that's going to be some must-see streaming TV.
It's going to be spooky.
It is, Tolly. And I think that, more than anything, just to see Delaware State to be in this position. And I know people probably that haven't ever paid attention to Delaware State football ever until now have gone back to seeing like, man, this team was not good at all. And to see where they are this early in the season. And here's a kicker. Like, when you look at their schedule, they have some other critical games that, like, obviously it's a road trip. They just beat St. Francis, but then, of course, they have Sacred Heart. They have Monmouth. After that, they have Southern Connecticut State. But then what's interesting about those games, of course, some of those are doable and could potentially lead to wins. They have a bye week after that Southern Connecticut State game before they play North Carolina Central. So I think that the way that this schedule is set up, it could be in their favor that the way that it's set up to, continue to potentially add more wins before really starting off conference play with a bang in a really, really big matchup against North Carolina Central.
Oh, we need some more teams in the MEAC, y'all. Look, no disrespect, but Sacred Heart, St. Francis, who just called an L, Monmouth, Southern Connecticut State. It's not giving excitement on paper for me. I mean, you got to play, and the wins will count, the losses will count. You'll get good experience getting ready for MEAC play, but boy, I would like to see some teams.
Sounds like a snooze fest for you, Charlie.
Yeah. It does. It does. But again, some people not from the HBCU space, might look at us and be like, who are these guys? So I get it. But boy, Sacred Heart, Monmouth, Southern Connecticut State. Okay. All right. But they got to play the game. Norfolk State lost a tough one against Sacred Heart. How about that? All right. So give some frame of reference for how good Sacred Heart might be. They beat Norfolk State this past weekend by 3. It came down opportunity for a kick there towards the end of the game. But Sacred Heart pulls it out. So Michael Vick and Norfolk State, after getting that first win against Virginia State, have now lost 2 in a row. Rutgers, no one expected them to win. They could have won this Sacred Heart game. Simone, your takeaway last couple of weeks on Norfolk State?
Yeah, I mean, you see all the success that Delaware State is having right now. So it's easy to look at Norfolk State and be like, well, why they ain't winning consistently? But again, Delaware State, they're doing an amazing job. Coach Jackson is doing an amazing job. But we have to remember he's exceeding expectations, in my opinion. This is early. This is Coach Vick's first year as a head coach, taking over a football program. Things take time to gel. So I don't see any real level of concern.
They can still make the Celebration Bowl. All you got to do is win the MEAC. They're not out of anything. Right, they're not
out of anything, and it's the first year under a new head coach and a first-time head coach. So if I'm a Norfolk fan, I'm just chilling. Right now, you're seeing who you are, I feel like, still at this point.
Yeah, MEAC. Wilton, we keep saying that. Literally, the MEAC, it does not matter how good you are or how bad you are until Halloween. That's when you got to, really, what do you say, Simone? Bite down on that mouthpiece. You got to bite down on that mouthpiece at Halloween.
Get rid of that scuttlebutt.
No, I mean, that's facts. I mean, at this point, you could lose 63-0, 32-20, 5-0 if you wanted to in the first 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden, you could go on this massive run and go undefeated and find your way in Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. And so, but I think also to Simone's point, in that Norfolk State is still a team, you can almost kind of see it play out in their games. They're still it feels as though they're still searching for their identity. And of course, Coach Vick is, decided on who he wants to, more so be at the quarterback position to lead his offense and things of that nature. But I think as they continue to kind of gel and find more of their identity, I think they're going to be okay. I think that in this case, it's been flipped for me specifically. I thought it was going to be Norfolk State having more of a hotter start than Delaware State. But what I'm seeing is that it's taking Norfolk State a little bit more time. But I think as the season goes along, especially as they get closer to conference play, because you have to think, you're not going to play as bad as you played, say, if we go into this week that you played in week 1. Obviously, you're hoping those things are getting adjusted, the things that will decide whether or not, hey, we made this, we executed these small details on a play to help us win a game versus in, say, for example, if you lost a game by 3 points in week 2, right? So I would like to think that with Coach Vick and his staff, they're obviously working hard to see what things do we need to continue to progress on, to continue to not only build our identity, number one, but then number 2, to help us get over the hump to win games. Because to you all's point, they only lost this game by 3 points.
Simone, if I said water cooler talk, would you know what I meant?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all scuttlebutt means.
I looked it up.
Okay. Rumors, gossip, or informal chatter, much like the term water cooler talk. The word originated in the early 19th century nautical world, where sailors gathered around a scuttlebutt, which is a cask with a hole or a scuttle in it for drinking water, and they exchanged gossip while taking a drink.
Yeah, but all you could have said was gossip, chit-chat, noise. You came up in here and said scuttlebutt.
I like saying scuttlebutt.
And I was supposed to know what that meant.
That for the street.
Right. Scuttlebutt.
We got lots of demographics out there, depending on what platform. We got scuttlebutt people out there. We got streets people out there, depending on where you're at. All right, let's take a look at that MEAC schedule for the week. Not one of these that's just going to set your hair on fire. Do you know what that means? Norfolk State at Wagner, Dell State at Sacred Heart, Howard at Richmond, taking on the Spiders, Morgan State versus Miles College, South Carolina State at Charleston Southern, North Carolina Central at East Texas A&M. And that's it. So you got one full HBCU matchup, which is Morgan State versus Miles. A bit of a down year for Miles. I think Morgan State will roll big in that one. All right, let's go over to the SWAC. We talked a little bit about Andrew Body already. Let's get back to his teammates. Wilton, Alabama State is #1 in offense in the conference, #2 in defense. Is it too early? To hype them as the most dominant team in the conference?
I think it is. I think it's good to say that they're one of the top right now because it's so early. You can't really tell yet. And for all the reasons of what we talked about on the MEAC side and really just all of college football at large, like you're just now getting to a point where teams are starting to really know who they are, what kind of team that they have, and what does it take to truly win. Of course, you may have won some games. You may be 2-2, you may be 3-1, you may be 0-3, or you may be undefeated. But at the end of the day, there's still 7, 8, 9 games left, and you could go 3-9 or 4-10 or whatever it is. So I think more so than anything, we give credit for Alabama State to where they are right now, and I think that a lot of people should be excited just by the virtue of seeing their offense come to life. Because I can't tell you how many times last year they had a dominant running game. They had a plethora of running backs, but they just did not have that signal caller that they needed to be able to move the ball downfield in critical times. Because if they did that, they would have been a very much better elite team and potentially, again, competing for a Celebration Bowl in that particular sense. So I can appreciate where they are offensively. And what Andrew Body has done in helping them get that ranking on the offensive side of the ball. And I think on defense, it doesn't necessarily surprise me at all. Like, this is a shutout defense that's been strong for Coach Robinson for the last couple of years. And if you've been watching Alabama State football, then you know this is not a surprise at all.
All right, let's go up the highway a little bit to their divisional neighbors, Alabama A&M. We got a little bit of video from their game over the past weekend. You see those Bulldogs taking on Lane College. I had the opportunity to be on that call along with Mo Carter for SWAC TV. Alabama A&M dominated. You see Lane just sacked themselves, just gave up a safety with the turf monster. And Alabama A&M rolled on to their third straight win. No problem against Lane. They look good on offense, on defense. A bit of a slow start in that first quarter. Quad Brown was out. The backup comes in, plays a solid game. So they got a solid bench, a solid quarterback room. Moving forward, what are your thoughts on Alabama A&M, Wilton, and how they look, the Bulldogs?
Man, Tyler, I've been saying this from day one since the season started. This is my sleeper team, kind of like what I had for South Carolina State last year in the MEAC, that a lot of people weren't paying enough attention to them. I think this is an Alabama A&M team that could really, really potentially make some noise as they continue to find out who they are as well. I mean, granted, I expected them to beat Lane this past weekend, but one thing about the beauty of things that are about to unfold, we get a chance to see multiple SWAC games, SWAC competition this weekend. So we'll really begin to truly see what Alabama A&M is made of. But I can truly say for the first couple of weeks of the season, Sam Shade has done a heck of a job in putting these players in play and on both sides of the ball to make sure that they're being successful.
Yeah, if you're watching the video there and it was like, why is it going dark light? They have those LED lights at Alabama A&M as well, and so when they score a touchdown, the lights are flashing, blinking on and off. It's kind of crazy. Looks good in person, but it can be a little deceiving on camera. You're like, what in the world is going on? But the light show, and they were blinking all over the place after running up those touchdowns against Lane. All right, let's take a look at that SWAC schedule for Week 5. We got Alabama State at FAMU. Alabama A&M is at Bethune-Cookman. Texas Southern at Mississippi Valley State. Alcorn State versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. That is the Southern Heritage Classic in Memphis. I will be on the call, play-by-play, along with Steve Weish from the NFL Network, and we'll be streaming on Amazon Prime, baby. Tell the streets.
Okay,
Tell the
time.
streets. Tell the streets.
Prime
We're on
time.
Amazon Prime. Jackson State at Southern, Boombox Classic. Grambling versus Prairie View, State Fair Classic. Wilton, those last three really got my attention. Of course, the State Fair Classic is always the battle with Graham and Prairie View. New participants with the Southern Heritage Classic is no longer the Jackson State, Tennessee State as it was for so many years, but both teams excited about going to Memphis. Had a chance to talk with both coaches and their coaching staffs today, getting ready for the broadcast. But Wilton, I think the one you probably have circled, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to show that we're on the same page. You have circled the what, Wilton?
The Boombox Classic.
Yes, exactly. What are you thinking?
No, I think that this is a game that both teams actually need to win. I think more so for Southern as a team that a lot of people have a lot of question marks on right now, as far as like whether it's, in terms of the quarterback play, what they're gonna look like defensively in terms of being able to stop Jackson State, and of course the endless amount of trash talk that we've heard all week. My gosh, I mean, it wouldn't be the Boombox Classic if you didn't have it. So I'm expecting a really, 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 really good game at A.W. Mumford Stadium in Baton Rouge on Saturday. It's always two rivals, two teams that obviously do not like each other at all. And who knows, these could be early implications of, although Southern is not necessarily playing the greatest right now, it could still be an early implication of two teams that could meet in the SWAC championship game. So definitely have my eye on that. I can assure you that Jackson State is not taking Southern lightly, having been to Jackson State's press conference this week, and Coach Taylor was saying that, it really does, it goes without saying that he doesn't have to explain what this game means to his players within the program and just really Jackson State fans, period. But outside of that, too, I'm also looking at that game in between Grambling and Prairie View and seeing how Tremaine Jackson handles this key test against a SWAC West opponent. You're talking about also a coach who demands a lot of his players, puts them at a pedestal and wants them to play well. So I'm interested to see that. I'm not going to lie to you, Tolly. When I hear Southern Heritage Classic, I can still only see Tennessee State and Jackson State. And I think it's just due to the fact of so many years of having experience going to that game, watching that game as a kid. It just seems funny to see, Arkansas Pine Bluff playing in that game. Not that they shouldn't, but I'm just saying, like, it just feels funny. I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah, but they are excited. Memphis is close to UAPB. Oh, yeah. Cedric Thomas from Alcorn State went to that game a lot as a kid. Said he told me he'll be fighting back the tears just thinking about the fact that he was just a big fan as a kid, and now he'll have the opportunity to take his Braves team onto the field as the head coach. So there will be a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling, and it's just getting used to some new teams out there because it was Jackson State and Tennessee State for so long. Simone, I would imagine the streets are talking about Alabama State and FAMU. Those Rattler fans always in the streets talking. How much on the line for FAMU? Starting out SWAC play, Alabama State. Alabama State has been looking good. FAMU's been up and down. What do you think the stakes are in this game?
Oh, big stakes. Giant. T-bone.
Welch's grape.
Obviously, the stakes are high, just like we talked about with the MEAC. It's the same for the SWAC, especially when you're playing the divisional games. Like, those really matter. And
Sorry, my wife always calls. I have this thing on my phone where I put do not disturb, but I have a special setting for my wife that overrides.
So she can break through that.
Yeah, and she always calls when I'm on.
Better.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I would be calling 50 times. Let me find out somebody put me on do not disturb.
Oh, can we talk about your necklace?
No, we're talking about Alabama State and FAMU.
Oh, 'cause I want to talk about your little boyfriend and how he got his initials on your necklace.
First of all, I've been wearing this necklace for months. They will know. Let them know in the comments. This necklace has been on for months. But anyways,
I see you, Dylan. Go ahead.
Back to football. Back to the trenches. Yes, this game is going to mean a lot for the SWAC East. As great as Alabama State is looking, you know, there's still plenty of time for someone like FAMU to catch up. So, yes, back on track.
That's another game I'm kind of looking at like, all right, FAMU, what are you going to do? Like, this is a chance to, you know, alleviate some doubt for your program, really set yourself on some solid footing. I don't think there's a bigger test. I mean, you know, if Jackson State was rolling in there, maybe, but have Alabama State come in the tally, that's going to be all the opportunity they need to show who they are, Wilton.
I think this could be, to your point, yes, I think this could be a really a real statement game and a statement victory for FAMU if they found a way to pull this off in Tallahassee. I mean, to your point, Alabama State is one of the hottest teams in not only just within the SWAC or in HBCU football, but just in FCS football, period. And I think that if you get them in Bragg and you're able to slow them down, you're able to slow Andrew Body down, distract him, get sacks, you know, and if you're FAMU, you're able to consistently find continuity on offense, whether if it's throwing the ball or putting it on the ground and getting into the end zone. This gives your fan base a really strong sense of affirmation that, okay, our season is still alive. Like we may be okay. You know, granted, we know mathematically they're still alive because there's so many games to still play and their chance of winning the SWAC championship or competing for a Celebration Bowl remain intact. But again, getting a strong opponent, arguably likely the strongest opponent in the SWAC East right now, kicking off conference play, says a lot. And if you get a win, that just does major wonders for FAMU, especially for a team that's kind of, their fan base is kind of on the ropes of like where this team is headed right now through the first couple weeks of the season.
Well, somebody's going to be happy between Texas Southern and Mississippi Valley State this weekend because one team is going to win, and it's going to be the first one.
I hope it's Mississippi Valley. It really doesn't matter, but I kind of want to see Mississippi Valley get that win because I know for a fact at some point, you know, Texas Southern is gonna win a game. They're gonna win multiple games. But to see Mississippi Valley get their first win, you know, they like to say for people from Jackson and in the city parts of Mississippi, we don't know anything about Itabena and, you know, the Delta or anything like that, or we like the country cousins. But I definitely think that it would be good for not only it would be good for Mississippi Valley to get the win, but it would also make a statement for them in terms of getting a win against a Texas Southern team that some felt like would be a potential SWAC West team that could really take the next step coming into the season.
Yeah, interesting that Texas Southern under Chris Dishman in his second year still looking for their first win. All right, we have reached the point of the show. It's time to give out some grades. Not grades for us. We're the one giving out the grades. Our report card segment last week, we gave out A's. This week, we don't remember who received those A's, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. This week is time to give out needs improvement. We're not giving out F's. We're just giving out our needs improvement grades, kind of like me in French in high school. Needs improvement. All right, let's go to Simone.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui. Monsieur, no, Mademoiselle. Oui, oui, Mademoiselle. Who needs an improvement?
Come into the office, please, Southern University.
Uh-oh.
Southern is a team that was expected to win the SWAC West.
Still could.
And can I do my soliloquy?
I'm sorry.
Southern is a team that was expected to win the SWAC West and still can. But you need improvement to do that. Southern is a team that was touted for their defense. A defense that they're going to need to improve if they do want to come to Atlanta, come back for the Celebration Bowl. Defense is giving up an average of 30 points per game. That's me throwing away their blowout loss in the money game. So that's me tossing out that money game.
Oh, so without that game, they're still giving up.
To HBCUs, they're giving up an average of 30 points a game, and they don't have any consistency on offense, still looking for some consistent play at quarterback. That's a recipe for not coming back to Atlanta in December, unless they improve.
All right. Southern University needs improvement, according to Simone Luther King. I liked your Southern.
I have a dream that one day Southern.
Your Southern Baptist delivery on that. All right, let's go down to the SIP. Wilton, Professor Jackson needs improvement. Goes to who?
Tyler, I need to have some office hours, and I just talked about it, but I need office hours with Texas Southern. Again, you know, for all the talk that was who's going to be the best team out of Texas coming out of the SWAC West, whether it was Texas Southern Prairie View, and granted, it's still early. I need some office hours with Texas Southern to see where they're headed. And I think we'll get a good understanding. Like you said, somebody will come out with a win after this weekend. So that's a plus. And hopefully, if it's for Texas Southern to get a win, this could be the stamp that could be in the right direction for the Tigers to make sure that their season is still intact in terms of improving. And I think the other team that needs critical, and I mean critical office hours, is North Carolina A&T, and not just on the field, just in terms of like Coach Sean Gibbs said, in terms of the culture. Like again, the young man who sprayed the water or put water on Coach Oliver, that's a no-no. Like that's just something that you just don't do. And I think that making sure that players know that, hey, this is going to be a precedent of if this is the behavior that you want to carry, you're no longer going to be a part of this particular program at North Carolina A&T. So I think that making sure that, they have that underway, they need to come visit me in the office.
Professor Jackson has spoken. You need to report to his office. What floor? What floor are you on, Wilton?
The third floor.
Third floor. Report to the third floor and see Professor Jackson. You have been summoned, North Carolina A&T and Texas Southern. All right, that's going to do it.
I'm bringing two in.
Hey.
He ain't
one has to sit out in the hallway in that chair,
right?
While the other one gets a talking to. All right, so heading into the weekend, where are you going to be? Which side of the neighborhood you hanging out on this week?
I'm going to be in Tampa Bay, enjoying hopefully a win for my Birds. If not, I'm gonna just be delusional.
Okay, so you're YouTubing it this weekend. You're vlogging this weekend.
Yes.
All right, vlogging. Wilton, who are you going to check out this weekend?
So I'll either be watching Southern and Jackson State live, or for sure watching it on TV. And of course some of the other MEAC and SWAC games, but I'll definitely have my eye on that Jackson State and Southern game for sure.
How long's the drive from Jackson to Baton Rouge?
It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Something like that.
Yeah.
Not too long.
Yeah, for somebody that drives back and forth between Jackson and Atlanta, that's only half the trip. You can knock,
exactly.
You can knock that out standing on your head. You'll be fine. All right, I'll be on the call for the Southern Heritage Classic. We have UAPB, and they'll be taking on Alcorn State. Did I mention it's on Amazon Prime?
Big money.
Did I mention it's on Amazon Prime this weekend? You can stream that game.
All the lights on Tyler.
Hey, man.
Is this on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Okay.
7 Eastern, 6 Central. Yeah.
Big money.
Look, my nap time's about 8:30, so
you better stay up for that money.
No overtimes. No overtimes. Let's get it in and do it. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Wilton, we got to get you back in Atlanta, man. I'm sorry the dream let you down. We were looking forward to we still have your space here on the couch. I'm coming back soon as I can. Just don't let Simone get in my seat because she already occupied the other seat next to you. Simone
so I still need to play.
She's got her feet up. She took her shoes off. She's just relaxing. So no, she has claimed that seat. That is Simone's chair. You don't have to worry about her taking yours. We got Wilton's spot right here for Wilton. All right, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We will see you next time. This has been HBCU Game Day.